Oh, he was like, we can go back if you want
Yeah,
to,
right, right.
and you were like, nah,
Like we could
man.
do. We're here. Like we could do this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Off the Saddle Podcast. I'm your host, Manuel, and today I have Andrew Soto. He's an artist located in Seattle. He's a ceramic artist, and he happens to be my nephew. What's up, Andrew? What's up? How you doing, bro?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. We've been talking a
Yeah,
little bit already before this,
yeah.
so I'm kind of comfortable now. We know
Sweet.
we kind of know what's up already. We're feeling
Totally.
good.
Nice and loose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first of all, like, let's talk about you. Who are you? You're an artist in Seattle. Like, how cool is that coming from like your background? And obviously, you're my nephew, so I know a little bit about you. I know
Yeah,
that you're like a SoCal kid, and then you went to Victorville, from Whittier, Victorville, and then Seattle.
yeah,
How does that happen? How do you go from Victorville to Seattle?
yeah. Totally cool. Well, yeah. So like you said, I did a lot of my formative years happened in Victorville, California, which is like
High
this.
desert.
It's a high desert. It's this desert town between LA and Vegas. The way I tell everybody is it's that town that you stop in to like gas up and like get your snacks and stuff before you get to Vegas.
And then you leave right away.
And that's it. Yeah, you don't look back. So that's
Ah,
Victorville. That's where I'm mostly from. Um, but yeah, I think my migration north happened because pretty much solely because of going to school, going to university. So
where'd you go?
I went to Humboldt State. It's now
Okay.
called Cal Poly Humboldt. So
Oh,
they've upgraded. Yeah.
go with that. Like, don't
Yeah,
say
Cal.
Humboldt State. Be like, oh yeah, I got my education Humboldt
I
in
really
Humboldt State. No, I got my education in Cal Poly Humboldt.
exactly. Yeah, so I have to get used to that. So I got my degree at Cal Poly Humboldt, and I got it in studio art focused in ceramics.
That's
But
what does ceramics mean?
ceramics meaning like the medium used to make functional wares. So functional wares being mugs, bowls, plates, your dishware, your dinnerware. But along with that,
A-
there's a whole. Go ahead.
And is that what you do? Like, you just make a bunch of cups and plates and stuff, or is there more to it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess as far as like the types of vessels I make, has changed throughout the years of like doing clay. But I started for sure. I started doing clay and making functional vessels. So yeah, like that's how I started, and I still make functional work. But you know, the more I work with clay, the more artistic expression I kind of let myself have. The more like sculptural things have started to become, and more experimental, and so it's a little different now.
Well, I gotta say, because again, I'm kind of cheating. I've known you my whole life, right? So
Yeah,
I've seen your work, and even from the get go, a cup was not a cup. Like you look at IKEA and you see that like Ikvan or whatever it's called, and there's like
yeah,
30
yeah,
cups, and they're like cookie cutter, and that's what you think of, like a ceramic cup or a ceramic coffee mug or something, right? And I
yeah.
own some of your work, and it's like a living piece. It looks like it's something unique. It's like no one's gonna own this cup the way this is ever. This is the
Yeah,
one in a million or
that's
billion.
awesome. That's really
So
cool.
so I've noticed that of you.
Yeah.
So I would say that even before, when you were making a traditional vessel, I
Hmm.
think it was still very unique because there was an artistic approach to it. And I want to give you some credit, because like when I was a young lad and you were just going to college and you're like, oh yeah, like ceramics. I was like, oh man, like why?
Yeah, yeah. Like, what the heck are you gonna do with like? How do you
Yeah,
do that? Like, what is
like
that?
Might as well go do underwater basket weaving. Like,
That's that sounds sick too.
that's actually I double majored actually.
Let me tell you.
uh, but yeah, so like I was like just like the uncle in me was like I was worried like, oh, what's he gonna do with that, like how's
Yeah,
that gonna work? And then I saw your work and I'm like, oh, I'm not worried anymore. Like this is legit.
yeah,
This is a thing as opposed to this idea that I didn't understand. So once I started seeing your work, I totally had a better understanding of it, and it kind of put me at ease.
cool. Yeah, but I mean, that's I appreciate you bringing that up because and that's like not even something that I was super thinking. The I can let me backtrack. Like the way you said, I appreciate the way you said. It's like a living thing because like I think from really early on, even before ceramics, like skateboarding, like learning to skateboard, like with you and stuff, was my first sort of introduction to art and
Oh,
like
it art in the form of expression.
yeah, in the form of like using your physical body to like do these things, and even with those things that you skated on, like the boards or the graphics themselves, like learning that like, oh, sometimes it's the skaters that make the graphics, and you're like, oh shit, like they don't just do skateboard tricks, like they're like
Like they're
they're interested.
involved.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
involved,
they're
they're
involved.
interested,
Yeah.
and they make music or they do photographs or they make graphics and stuff. And that was a really like eye-opening realization that I had when I was really young, because I think like I was saying a little bit earlier, my way north happened because of wanting to go to school, and wanting to go to school happened after realizing, well, I'm clearly not, I don't have the skill set that I would need to be like a professional skateboarder. Like that's not my reality. That's not my future. And
Right.
so like, learning about my favorite skateboarders, being interested in other arts and being like kind of like a, artsy fartsy sort of skateboard kid anyway, it was like easy to follow in that path. And when I learned that you can get a degree, you can go to a university and get an art degree, I was like, huh, I think that's a great idea. Like maybe I can do that. And
Yeah.
that's what
You're all,
like
I
set
got
me
this.
north.
I can do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I can't skate like that, but I can probably I feel like I love making drawing and doing these weird like little painting things on like found materials and like always kind of tinkering with stuff and like using my hands to build shit like stuff to skate on or like I don't know, just weird stuff. My dad being a plumber, there's like all kinds of like materials around copper pipe and solder and
Yeah.
torches and stuff. So like kind of like taking weird copper pieces and soldering them together to make like a mask and stuff. Like there was always like some kind of something somewhere to tinker with. And so, art and like and that's why like I feel like ceramics is like speaks to me a lot because I get to itch all of those like tendencies to tinker with something and you
Yeah,
know
like it's not just so much that you're putting something on a canvas. Your canvas is alive and it's shaped by your hands. So I totally see how that's a very like because skateboarding is for me like before it was bicycles, it was skateboarding, you know, and it was always a very beautiful form of expression for me. Like everyone can do tricks, right? Like an ollie's an ollie. It's like the rudimentary trick of all tricks, right? But the way you ollie makes it different. Like some people just had style, and that style was based on you. Like some people were sloppy with it, and they just like did it, and they look like a train wreck, and you're like excited to see them. Like you're like, oh, there they go, like boom, they
yeah.
ollie, they go down the stairs, and they look like haphazard the whole way, and you're just like, wow, what beautiful chaos, right?
Yeah.
Other people like Jerry Sue would be like, dude, he would ollie. It'd be like, did he even try?
Yeah,
Because
right.
he looked like poetry in motion. It was just flow
Oh,
and
yeah,
just
totally.
beautiful. It was just beautiful. Like you see him skate and you just think beautiful, right? So like definitely it was not just a skill, which it was. It wasn't just a technique, which it was, or practice, but it was also a form of expression because you were kind of like doing things the way you wanted them, right? It wasn't just enough to do the trick. You wanted the trick to look a certain way. And that's as basic as an ollie, because you could just ollie. And if you didn't care, that's also you choosing to not care and just do it. The rough, like the rough draft was your
Yeah,
final.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's the dope skaters like that, you know. There's like, so like it's really cool. Like the styles do make the skater, and I think
Hmm.
that would then translate to you for art. It sounds like the style translates into your artwork.
Yeah, yeah, I for sure. I fully agree with that. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing with style too, I think is like not something that I mean, I don't know. I guess it really depends on the person, but sometimes, I think about my buddies, growing up skating and how some people had a style that was, really like natural, fluid, like they had it from the beginning. And there are other homies that had style that they like had to develop and learn. And I think, for me, I've fallen into that. Like I've had to like sort of learn what my style was from trying all kinds of different things. And finding what was felt the most, like what spoke to me the most, and kind of translating that to clay. That's sort of what I did.
And you've done something with that too, which is really cool too. It's not just like you had this hobby, right? Like I never knew you even threw clay ever in your life until you went to college.
That's when I
So
first started. Yeah.
so that's really rad too, because it is like people joke about it like, oh, I went to college, I found myself, but so much of that is the real experience, like the real
Hmm.
experience of college is to find who you are, find what you love, find what you want to do with the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And not everyone takes it for that, right? And we all have different reasons for going different directions. But I, again, cheating, right? I know your background, I know what happened. So I know that you've done something with it and you're really kind of living the life of the artist and ceramic artist, like you're living that ceramic artist life. You work in the industry, you've been places because of what you do, and that's super rad and also very rare. It's almost inspiring, I'd say. It really is. It's
Cool.
inspiring because it's chasing the dream to the fullest. And I think that's super rad. That's why I ride bicycles. It's why I
Yeah.
skateboarded, like it's chasing the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I think like I'm definitely in the middle of that chase right now. It's like I feel like being an artist, the way that I approached it, going through like a, academic institution is I you don't have to go to a university to like be an artist. Obviously, most people know this, but the way that I did it, going to school and learning this type of art, um, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity that's come, but then in some ways is can be kind of limiting in the like. Uh,
Do you think it puts you in a box, kind of like there are these guaranteed ways of making money, and there's these other things that like your heart desires this, but financially this is an easier road?
hmm. When like financially being an easier road, like taking university as being like the financially easier road. I think that, well, for me, I was lucky enough to like get a lot of help from like the government for school and stuff like that. So financially, it didn't. I mean, like I am in debt right now too, but I would I would be in a lot more a lot more.
Welcome to life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I would be in a lot more debt. And I think that, I guess in some ways, it's a little bit limiting in that, like, sometimes you learn things in like a class or something, and it takes someone or an experience or whatever to like shake you out of like
Just
that box.
break out of
Right.
that box. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I think I had a good number of those instances in school just by meeting like new friends, making new friends, and meeting artists at different types of events and stuff.
And that's why I like about like cycling, because like in cycling, I think it's a very similar thing that your path kind of takes you down a road. Me specifically, like I started off with a bunch of mountain bikers who rode road bikes. So like the vibe was real chill, but it was about being fast. And
Mm,
that led me to racing. And I was
hmm
like all about the race life, the weigh less, the bike weighs less, carbon fiber everything,
Yeah,
weight
totally.
weenie. I was all about
I
that life.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I used to be skinny. Like, yeah, that happened at some point in my life. I was skinny,
Yeah.
right? I still felt fat, right? That's let's talk about body dysmorphic disorder on a different episode. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like so that was a thing, and like, but it is like your surroundings and everything shapes you, and obviously you could be down a path, but everything's going to give you a little bit more. And I think I will. I feel like, right? I can't speak for you, but I feel like you being my nephew kind of gave you an unfair yet privileged position in bicycles, because like I threw you into the fire like
That's true. Yeah, totally.
pretty unprepared. Like I remember when we were, I think, were we both living in Whittier, or were you
Yeah.
already?
No, I was living in Whittier. Yeah, I was living with my grandma.
Yeah,
Like my whole family was living with my grandma.
yeah. And I was actually living in Whittier too. And I'm like, we gotta go do Turnbull Canyon. And
Yeah.
so little bit of Turnbull Canyon. It's about a 2 mile climb. It's about 6% average. And it's like considered a good little test for the average rider. It's not an easy climb. It's not an
No.
easy climb, but it's definitely doable for the average fit, or like kind of like someone who's been riding a while. So like you have like the most I feel like you had climbed at that point was like Mount Overpass, the freeway. Like that was basically it. Like, oh,
Dude,
that was a
yeah.
steep freeway, like overpass. Like I did that one, you know? And
Yeah.
I just took you.
Oh my God. That's yeah, exactly. I hadn't really climbed anything before that. That
And
was like
how much bicycle riding had you actually done?
like very little, like none practically. Like
No
you said
team, no lycra, none of that stuff.
no, dude, I was wearing like jean shorts and like I was riding like whatever stuff that you gave me. I remember it was a fixed gear that because you showed me fixed gears and I was like,
Right.
holy shit, this is sick. Like it was
Right.
like watching people on fixed bikes was like watching like those Heschers just destroy like 13 stair handrails,
Oh,
like
totally, dude. That was definitely a gateway drug back then. Like
yeah.
if you were a skater and you saw a fixed gear, you're like, that's just my vibe. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am
Mm-hmm.
all about that. Like, oh, this communicates with me. I resonate with
Totally.
this.
Totally.
Even like the videos, because there was like some like
Yeah.
mash SF, and like there was
Yeah.
videos like that out there, and they were totally on a skate, like a skate video vibe.
Yeah, truly. Oh man, I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a,
Oh my god. Okay, I want to get into Turnbull Canyon. I
oh,
want to
but yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
right,
it.
right, right.
I want to talk about this because, oh my god, like in retrospect, I think I shouldn't talk about it. I think I should apologize. Like I put you through hell, dude. I really
Man,
I put you through it. Like
I
it
didn't
was
even
bad.
really realize. Like I mean, like obviously I think the way that I went into it was like like we were riding around the city a little bit
Yeah.
already, and I was like, oh, sick, like cool. We're like, in traffic and stuff. Because at that point, I had seen like a bunch of MASH videos, and like there's like a Macaframa video, like
Yeah.
SF
Oh yeah.
dudes.
Oh yeah.
Watch that, and like at this point, this was like my second bicycle that you pretty much you built for me, like the fixed gear too.
Mhm.
And so there was like a rally. It was an old, maybe it was like an
Oh yeah. It
80s
was a conversion rally. That's right.
and it was like an aluminum frame, so it was a little different. I remember you telling me about it, and I'm like, okay, like whatever, But now I understand a little bit better for sure. But at the time, it's like this sick blue color, and it's like white bar tape, and you know, it had this like really cool like icy look to it that I was down with, and
Yeah.
I from the very beginning loved the vintage frames. Like they're so rad. Like all the lugged parts of them and stuff. Like all the little details were sick. And so that's the bike that I was riding when we went up Turnbull, which I
Yeah.
think probably was like a little bit too big even.
Oh my God. You know, you're not wrong, because like it's enough to take someone who's not ready to do a climb like that on a climb like that. It's another thing to take someone on a fixed gear up a hill like that. Like that's even less. Like I'm totally burying myself right now. Like this is like every bad thing you can do, I'm doing. Like like
Yeah.
I
Well, no, but we didn't go up Turnbull with that fixed gear that I had.
no. Okay, thank God, thank
No,
God.
no, yo,
What did you
because that's
ride? What did you
it was
ride?
that rally. It was that blue one, that
Oh,
blue
it was a
rally.
retro blue rally.
Yeah.
Was it down tube shifters?
It was, yeah, it was down tube shifters.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
thank goodness. Thank
Because
goodness.
I think
Oh my
like
gosh.
I think I wanted to, I think the whole thing was like I wanted to be able to climb a little bit more. And I think you were also probably like, well, you know, you got to fix gear. Like, you know, right now it's, I don't know, it must have been like, here's this, we should get you a geared bike too, so that you can like ride more terrain, is how I feel like it kind of went. And
Okay.
and I think by that time I was probably, oh
20
no,
early 20s, right? Early
I
20s.
yeah, because I took that bike to college, and so I
You had
must
to
have,
have been like 20 years old, around there.
no, I don't think so, man. I
Were
think that
you
was
like
I think that was
were you like
before.
17, 18?
Yeah, I think so. I think because that was before I had gone to college. That was towards the end of high school because I took that bike with me to school, to college, that blue bike.
Oh Lord.
And yeah, dude, I must have been like 17 or 18 when we did that.
Oh my gosh. I do remember though. I don't remember the bike so much. I don't remember what I was riding. I don't remember if you were in lycra or shorts or what you were
No,
wearing.
bro.
What I do remember is I remember saying like, this is gonna suck so bad, and then it's gonna suck more. And we just gotta like if you want to stop, let me know.
Yeah, well, you first, no, okay, so this is how it started.
Uh-oh.
So
I'm gonna get,
first, no,
oh no.
first we rode around town for a while, got all loosened up and stuff, and I don't know if you had done this on purpose or not, but we ended up, you know, kind of close to like where Turnbull was, and I just kept following you, and then we turned off into like a residential street that was like at the bottom of the hill or whatever, and then you're like, all right, so we're pretty close to Turnbull Canyon right now. And I was not super familiar with like Whittier's terrain, really. I hadn't ridden around Whittier very much, but I knew what Turnbull Canyon was. I didn't know what it was in the context of like riding a bicycle, you know, because that's like where people
But
would go to like chill and
but
stuff,
in
drive their cars
Whittier,
up.
yeah, but in Whittier, Turnbull is famous.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is like at the time I was living in Victorville already, so you know, my time in Whittier was like pretty minimal. So like, you know, you telling me Turnbull, I was like, okay, that's the big hill. Like, sure. Not realizing exactly how big this fucking thing was. But we turned off into this residential street, and you're like, all right, we're by Turnbull Canyon. And I'm like, great. And then you were like, do you want to ride up it? Like, we're here. Like, are you sure? We don't have to ride up if you don't want to. And I'm like, in my mind, like, I guess you're right. Like, we're already here, but like, I don't know what this is like. I don't know how big the steep this is. You're giving me all of these, like, all this beta about like how it's steep and how long and all this stuff. And again, I don't really have the
Yeah,
like
yeah,
context of like,
like telling someone it's 6% means nothing if you
yeah,
don't
I'm like,
get
cool. That
oh
sounds like a low
six,
number.
six
That's
out of a
probably
thousand,
okay.
6 out of 1,000. Like,
Like,
oh,
what's
what is six out of what? Like,
that
oh,
sounds great.
that's a low
And then
number. It's not even double digits.
that's so funny. That's exactly what I thought. And then I remember telling you like, well, what is like the average time it takes for somebody to like to do this thing? Because in my mind I was like, if it doesn't take that long, then I feel like I can do it and I won't like totally hate myself, you know? And you
Oh,
told me,
I hope I told you 20 minutes.
I think you did. I think you told me like 20, 25 minutes, maybe
Okay,
something
yeah,
like that.
and that's about right. That's about right.
And we rode, he told me it was like 1.8 miles that we were
Ex-
going to ride or something like that.
That's accurate too.
And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like that much. Like that sounds fine. But like,
Again,
again,
when you don't know what it means.
dude, I was like, sure, let's do it. And pretty quickly I realized, I was like, holy shit. What did I get myself? Oh my
And
god.
this is kind of more for the cycling audience. You weren't clipped in.
No,
Like
man.
you had normal like tennis shoes
Yeah,
on flat
I was probably
pedals.
wearing Vans with like cages. Yeah, with the
Oh my god!
toe
Yeah,
clips.
yeah. I toe clips. All right, toe clips.
Yeah.
Not terrible then. I mean, you
No,
weren't
I
flat.
mean,
You had cages.
yeah. I was like,
People want to turn their friends on cages. I mean,
dude, see, that's how I think about all that shit too. I'm like, yo, the professionals were using this back in the whatever, 50s, 80. I don't know.
I
When
don't
did they
know.
start using toe clips or
I
like
think until the 70s. I think
like
80s is when the first looks
clipless,
came
whatever?
out. Yeah, the clipless pedals, which sounds dumb because that's a whole nother argument, right? Like
Yeah,
you clip
man,
in, but it's called clipless, but
that
whatever.
shit is
Yeah,
confusing.
I know that's bad. That's bad. But whatever.
I'm not a bike person, so I feel like I have like, the clearance to say that.
I'm
I
a bike
like the
person.
knowledge.
I feel like I'm a bike person, and that's some bullshit. So like, you're okay.
That's awesome.
We all think that. We all think that clipless pedals is a stupid name for what they are. For
Hell
the pedals that
yeah.
you clip into, whatever.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you're in jeans probably or short jeans
No,
or
I was
something.
wearing I was wearing like probably like some cut off Dickie shorts or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
And I think I did have bike shorts underneath though.
Oh, thank goodness, because that
Yeah.
gooch would not be happy.
Yo, no doubt. That was a hell of a
So
ride.
I remember, like, I don't even know, man. Like, at that point during that time too, like I was doing Turnbull like 4 times a week.
No
Like,
kidding? 4 times a
yeah,
week you were doing that?
yeah,
Shit.
and sometimes I didn't even go all the way up. I would just go as hard as I could for 5 minutes, and then
Oh,
turn
okay.
around and do it again, and then turn around and do it again.
Yeah.
And like I just use it as training, like with a good
Oh.
friend of mine, named Diego.
Mm-hmm.
He was a teammate on True Cycling, and he was also still a good friend of mine. He joined the military, and he's doing that, so he's off right now, still working. But yeah, that was like I was a pretty fit individual at that time, so to drag you up there under those circumstances was pretty irresponsible, pretty
I mean,
terrible.
I guess I get it. In from your perspective, like you're like my older uncle, like slash brother, older brother figure, like taking me on these like misadventures and stuff like that. But to be honest, I think if I was ever gonna do that, like that was probably a really great time to do it because I was still like skating a bunch and I was still like super active, like doing a bunch of shit.
Peak of
And
fitness.
yeah, dude, I was like 18, like
Nah,
man.
dude, 18, dude, you could run a marathon and be like, let me have a cigarette. Like, you'd be good.
Yeah, like
Like,
that's honestly,
I don't smoke, but I mean, like, you could. You really
I could
could.
do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was definitely on my side that day. Was just like the pure like youthful energy that I had, like
Okay.
helped push me through.
I gotta say this, and I don't think I've ever told you this. So my absolute favorite thing in the world and in cycling is descending, going down the mountain, right?
Yeah.
That was the worst descent of my life with you.
Was it really? That's
was.
hilarious. No way.
No. Not because like you made it bad, but because like on the way up, like it was like encouragement and you got this and we can do it, but on the way down, like the reality of being an older uncle hit me and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want this kid to die. like I was like nerve-wracked on the whole way down.
That's so funny.
I was like, let's go slow, like
That's
like
hilarious.
I was so worried you're gonna fly off a cliff and then I'd have to talk to my sister about how I killed my nephew.
Oh man.
Like it was like all those crazy thoughts were like clouding me. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to. It was bad.
You've never told me that before. Yeah, that's the
No,
first
no,
time.
like it was bad. Like the way up was comedy. Like sure you
Yeah.
suffered. I mean, but you did it. You know, like it was
Yeah.
suffering, but you did it. And that's just cycling in general. So cycling's a mutual experience of killing yourself. It's almost like, and I'm gonna butcher his name, but like Nietzsche or whatever, where
Mhm.
like it's the reward of like what you accomplish is worth the suffering. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like really rad like that. Like it's so rewarding to like climb up something high and hard. I mean, obviously he was like kind of a mountaineer or whatever, a climber,
Mhm.
but it's a very similar feeling on a bike. You're just climbing, and then all of a sudden you get to the top, you look at that view, and you earned it in a very human way.
Yeah.
Like driving up there, you wouldn't appreciate the climb the same way.
Totally. No, no, no. Right. None, not at all.
So Turnbull Canyon, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was still a success because, well, because like you did it. Like at the end, whatever doesn't
Yeah.
kill you, I mean, that's the point, right?
Yeah, no, fully. I think that I ultimately had a really great time on that ride. I think that was like, when you hear people talk about like really difficult rides and, like rewarding, the aftermath of your difficult ride being that rewarding.
A rewarding
Um,
experience.
yeah, I definitely like went through that. So that was like a very similar feeling to like with skating, trying a trick over and over and over and over and over again. And like finally getting it when you're like, oh man, you can like hardly lift your arms and you're still trying to do these crazy tricks. And so that was like a very similar feeling and it feels great.
You know, I've often said that similarity in skateboarding that is also shared in bicycles, where like if you've done a mountain, like if you've done Turnbull Canyon 1,000 times and you go with someone doing it their first time and they're suffering and they're going 10 times slower than you, their success in doing it is still like your first success. It's still exciting to you. It's like amazing. It's like awesome. It reminds you in a way of how beautiful it is to do what you do. And
Hmm.
skateboarding similar, because if you've done like 5 stairs and it's like, yeah, I'll warm up on 5 stairs. Like I'll jump 5 stairs on my way to a trick.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And then there's a kid trying it, trying it, trying it, trying it. When he lands it, people recognize the effort and the commitment it took to do that. And you're like,
Hmm.
dude, I love that for you. Like they slap their board, like, yeah, like
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
people cheer something that they could easily do because they understand what it took to do it.
Totally.
And that's kind of how I felt like when I saw you do that Turnbull Canyon,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I know it, like I know I could do it. Like I was trying to see how fast I could do it at one point. And I was like racing
Hmm.
myself and racing everyone else on it. But seeing you do it was the same kind of feeling I got from skateboarding, where like I was just proud of you, and in the same way, proud that you were in there with me. Like you've done it. Like
Hmm.
I know how hard it is to climb a mountain or climb a hill, like like and you did it. You joined me in this, and now you're like, you took the communion. You're part of this group of people who suffered through Turnbull Canyon and saw it from the top, the way only someone who ran, walked, or biked up there can see it. Like
Yeah.
you drive up there and you do not see it with the same eyes. It's not the same Turnbull Canyon.
Yeah, man, for sure not. Yeah, it's true. I get that. And I think I understand what you're saying where it's like, you know, obviously it's the same view, but it's really like the journey that you took to get there. It changes it all for sure.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, dude. Like, but you obviously you never really got into like crazy racing, but you do ride still, right?
Yeah, yeah. I ride my bicycle. I don't ride it my bicycle as much as I wish that I did.
That's me too.
Yeah, I and a lot of times it's just like, like I could ride my bike to work. Like my commute to work would be a pretty good bike ride. It'd be take me like probably an hour, which I would think is like really good for, for fitness wise. And
Uh, an hour bike ride to work is an epic ride.
Yeah, well, so in Seattle, it's pretty cool the way that they've laid out like routes for bike commuters. So like it may be in like an hour ride, but there's a lot of like pretty mellow like bike paths. Like the Burke Gilman is a really popular bike path out here that will take you to all kinds of different parts of Seattle. And from where I live in like a pretty north part of Seattle, and where I work is in South downtown. Call it Soto, and
Called Soto.
yeah, Sodo.
Oh,
It's
okay.
hilarious.
I
It's
was like,
hilarious.
that's oh my god, it's like oh my god, your last name. That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
But like there are pretty accessible ways to get from where I live to my work, and I've ridden my bike from my house to my job before, and it's pretty mellow. So it's nothing too crazy. Like Seattle tries to be pretty like bike friendly place, and even still, I feel like you talk to community members, like people riding their bikes, and there's always something that the city can do
Yeah.
better. But for the most
Well,
part.
I'll tell you right now, San Bernardino, there's not something they can do better. Anything would be better.
Yeah, yeah,
like just pave the road. Like
yeah,
that
man,
would be impressive. Like oh here. But
man,
you built a bike, right? Like you actually
yeah,
like I remember we were talking and you were in the mix of like building a bicycle, not
hmm
from scratch, but like basically parting it up. Like it was
yeah.
pretty rudimentary when you got it. You stripped it down, right? And you built it up.
Well, what I did was, so this was like in like the middle of the pandemic. It was like at the point where like shops were open, but it was still, like 10 people at a time, and
Yeah.
this or that place or whatever. And so, at work, my friend David, who is just a really rad dude, he and right now he's like doing a lot of photography stuff, which is super
Oh,
sick.
that's cool.
Um, and But he came to work one day and got all stoked on like bicycles and like fixed gear, like single speed stuff. And so really, like before that, I hadn't ridden my bike in like years, dude. It was like mad time. And him bringing up again like single speed bikes, fixed gear bikes, and then he was talking about like mash, and then talking
Oh
about all
wow.
this stuff, and I
Okay.
was like, dude, like, yo, like I love that
A
shit, like I remember
revival.
that. Yeah,
A
exactly.
revival. It brought you back.
It did. And so he got like a bike from State Bicycle Co.
Mhm.
And and wanted a buddy pretty much, and because I showed interest initially, because like that's kind of part of my history is like bicycle riding, because you and fixed gears and stuff,
You're welcome.
it was really easy to just like find a buddy, and then now like the bikes that I had just have gotten lost or like whatever in the last 10 years. And so I like came to Seattle with zero bicycle, and then talking to David about it, getting all stoked about it again, it made me more interested in this time trying to build a bike, because like at this point, like I've graduated college. I've learned that I love all kinds of different mediums. Like I love working with clay and wood and found objects and like all kinds of different stuff. And so,
Very cool.
thinking like thanks, but thinking like, okay, I want to ride my bicycle again, and I've never really attempted to like try to put a bike together. Maybe that's what I'll try to do this time, because I've kind of entertained that idea before, some years ago.
Secretly, because your dad's a plumber, you've had a lot of experience working with your hands, even though I don't think you would consider it. Like it was kind of like a rite of passage that you worked with your hands. Like you weren't working with your hands, you were helping your dad or whatever. But that's not the most typical upbringing where you actually do things physically that way, like especially in what you did. So I
Yeah.
think there's an advantage to the mechanical eye that you gain just from working, like especially with your father being a plumber.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like you might have noticed it when you're building it. No, you know what? Maybe you didn't even notice it at all ever. But comparatively, there is a difference.
What do you mean? A difference between?
Like someone who doesn't have a dad that works with their hands, so they were
Oh, I
never
see.
put into a position where they did that.
Right.
That's an advantage. And I would argue that's an advantage in clay, in yard work, in building a bike, in everything.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I agree with that for sure. I think like, my dad, like my family coming from very like, working class upbringing, like all I've really learned was like, shit, this is broken. Like, let's fix it. We'll figure out
Yeah.
how to do it or a way to do it. And, being, this junior plumber, essentially learning how to like, tinker with people's appliances and faucets and all that other shit. Um, yeah, that's totally informed that curiosity for all that really tactile material, like wood, clay, like building the bike and stuff like that. Like I would definitely contribute building the bike to that.
And with all that said, I can tell you that at the end of the day, when every bike I built that I cared about was like, does it look cool?
Yeah. Oh my God.
like don't get me wrong. Like I was a mechanic. I was a mechanic for a team. I was a mechanic for a bike shop. Like I've done all that. But at the end of the day, I'm like, what am I working on? What am I gonna build? Is this fun? Am I excited about this? And then that like produces so much excitement for the project.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
did you build?
I built a 9-speed road bike from okay. Yeah, I built a 9-speed road bike. Um and like I said earlier, with Seattle being, it's a pretty popular bike town. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of like bike paths, like accessible stuff, cool mountain biking, cool bike packing, road biking, like all kinds of shit.
Right.
And so there are tons of bike shops around town, but there's one bike shop in particular that I think is super rad. They're called Recycled Cycles, and what they do is they, exactly what their name says, they take and they buy and sell like used parts. And so if you're rolling around through their bins there, you can come around some really cheap, like great quality parts. Like I think like my front derailleur is like a campy derailleur, and like I
Oh
got like a,
wow.
yeah, dude. And I got that shit
Oh
for like
wow.
$15, like,
That's so
and
rad.
dude, they have some really cool shit there. And so, I had heard about this place and hadn't gone there until I decided to like try to build a bicycle. And I went and like, met some folks there that were super rad. And I initially went in there to buy a fully complete bike. And I found these like Marin bicycles that were like these like hybrid bikes, like
Right.
road, mountain type of thing.
Love it.
And I saw them and I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's a good price. Like, that's not what I want to ride.
Mm.
And so it kind of goes into like the whole style part of a bicycle, like what we
Oh,
were just talking about.
you have to fall in love.
Dude, exactly. And I saw these bikes and I was like, functionally, great. Everything I want. Looks wise, and like, man, I haven't said this out loud before, really. So it's kind of funny, it's kind of silly. But looks
Shallow.
wise, dude, straight up, I was like, I can't back it. And so then I was perusing around the shop some more, and then I saw like where they had all the frame sets like hanging up on these like wooden pegs. They had tons of them, dude. They had like 200 frame sets,
Oh
like used
wow.
frame sets
Oh
of all
wow.
sizes. Like it's such a cool spot. If you ever come to Seattle, we will definitely go to Recycled Cycles.
I want to
Um,
go now just for that. Like
dude,
just for
and
that, I want to go.
it's worth it for sure. But I was talking to one of the mechanics there, and I was like, yeah, I've never done this before, and I'm super intrigued by it. And I'm looking at your bicycle, like the frame sets here, and I'm, like what's the range? Just asking some questions and stuff. And the dude helped me pick out one bike frame it was $100 for a frame set, and so I was like, oh, sick, like that's a pretty good deal.
It's
And
not
it was
bad
in
now.
this Italian style frame set. Um, Say that again. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't say anything. But you're telling me
Oh.
about the Italian bike. What's the brand?
Oh, it's called ES, and there's like an accent
S.
above the E. I've never heard of it, and I tried
S.
looking it up. Or well, so the name is S, and then Special is like the model, the special, S special.
S.
Um,
That's funny in Spanish because es porque es special.
yeah, right. It's a special one. But yeah, so I don't know anything about the frame, but the mechanic that was there told me that this bicycle frame had raced in all kinds of like a bunch of like European races, so
Oh,
it's like
very rad.
seen
Has
mad
history.
miles. Yeah, it's got some history for sure, but I couldn't find any like, specs on it online or anything.
So what'd you
Um,
build it on? Like what did you put on it? How was the actual building process? Because I mean that's something I know near and dear to my heart, right? Like
yeah,
I've built bikes for my whole life almost, you know?
yeah.
So how was this building your first bike?
It was amazing, dude. Honestly, in a lot of ways, and it's funny. My friend David, who I mentioned earlier, he's always trying to get me out to go on bike rides, and I'll like go like half the time or something, and he jokes around with me, gives me a hard time, and he's like, "Dude, you just like building bikes more than like riding them," and
Oh,
it gets to the point where I'm like, "Damn, you know what? Maybe you're not wrong. I do love building bikes."
all right. Like this is awkward, but like, yeah, I wasn't a great racer. I was much better at mechanics. So that like that was my life, like
dude, it's so much fun. It really is. Like but there's like a motivation you get, especially after you're like done building a bike. You're like, man, like I gotta try this, And even
right.
then, the build isn't done because then you have to like tune everything up to par, make
Hmm.
sure that your
All
chains
your
don't fucking
gears
pop off.
going,
Like,
yeah, chains not popping
yeah,
off, mess with your limits and make sure everything's
dude,
smooth. Yeah,
so
totally.
much work, so much work. But I loved it. I thought building a bike was so, so much fun. And
Is that the
yeah,
bike we talked earlier and you mentioned an alleycat?
yeah,
Is that the bike you rode on your alleycat?
yeah, that's the bike I rode for the alleycat.
Okay, what alleycat? Like, what is this? Because
Yeah,
I remember alleycats from like my youth. Like
totally.
so. What did you do? How did it work? What were the rules?
Yeah, all right, cool. So the bike scene in Seattle, I feel so I haven't really been part of like really embedded in the bike community like ever. And so the closest that I've really gotten to see like a bicycle community was participating in this alley cat race. This was like
I
this
mean,
past November.
dude, alleycat's pretty in there.
Yeah, well, these dudes that put it on are really, really rad. They're like they tried to like you know build the hype so that anybody and everybody who wants to try to race can race. And it's put on by these dudes. Like the race itself is called Holiday Haze, and it's like a 4 series race. And I participated in only one of those races. And so like if you wanted to, you could do like all 4 of the races. But if you're someone that's like me, where I can kind of float in and out of like riding my bicycle and stuff. Like that was just something my friend David like told me about. I was like, "Hi, come on, like it'll be fun." He's done
Yeah,
one already. But I think the main reason I went was because they try to make it super super inclusive, and
that's rad.
so it's so cool, dude. The way they do it is they break it up into categories. So you have a beginner and an intermediate and an advanced category. And so that way they have, like riders like racing with each other.
Right.
And the race that I did was it was very like hill focused. And so we were
Mm.
climbing mad hills, dude. It was
Memories
gnarly.
back to Turnbull Canyon.
Dude,
You're like, I
like
can do this. I've done this.
shit. Well, no, but that's the
Uh,
thing. Like, I've gotten a little older, and I was like, yo, I recognize Turnbull was gnarly, and like, if this is
uh,
anything close to that, like, this is gonna be gnarly. But the whole they really like try to encourage people to like ride in like
now,
partners.
normally there's some kind of checkpoints. Was there checkpoints?
So this race, there were checkpoints, but it wasn't like a chronological checkpoint type of a thing. It was like they had a whole list of different hills that you had to hit around Seattle.
Oh, that's
Um,
normal. Yeah, that's
okay.
very alley cat like. That's
Oh,
good.
okay,
Yeah.
sick. Yeah, and then you could like hit those hills however you wanted to. That made best sense for you. Um, or I mean, and then not or, but they also along with that they had like these special checkpoints where there were like these like rush checkpoints where if you got to these checkpoints within this certain amount of time, you gained the certain amount of points. And so
Oh.
yeah, and so you had to be like pretty strategic. Like you they made it to the point where like you could hit all of the hills, but your points wouldn't get you to like placing status, you know? Like you had to try to be really kind of strategic with your checkpoints and stuff. And
That's really cool.
it
That's
was
true. That's very traditional of alley cats. Like that, like hit these spots, but it's up to you. It's your understanding of the area that's going to help you.
yeah, totally. And like again, you know, I've been in Seattle for I think going on 4 years now, but my geography of this place is still not super solid. So riding with my friend David was like very helpful because he knows the city like way better than I do. Um, but yeah, it was a ton of fun for sure. And it's like super low pressure, you know, like
Yeah.
there's not
No.
even real prizes.
No.
The only prize it gave out was dead fucking last. That's the only person that got a
Oh
prize.
my god.
It was awesome.
I fucking love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that was the only prize. That's
Yeah,
so
dude.
cool.
Yeah, so the dudes that put that race on are really
Lunch
rad.
Lanterne Rouge in the Tour de France. Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
Last place, basically. Yeah. With
Yeah,
still within the cutoff, but last place. Yeah, it's all right. That's
yeah.
so cool.
Man, so that was my first alley cat, and I like it's right from the get. It was like high pressure because when I got there, I got there kind of late, and when I got there, there was a dude that had shouted like 5 minutes, and I was like 5 minutes, like what the fuck?
For
And then
what?
so then I saw my friend David, and he was like, "Yo, come on, like give me your bike, give me your bike." And he was like, "You have to go register." And I was like, "I have to go register, like register." And then I had to like find one of the organizers, and you know I was like, "Hey, I'm here to race." And then 3 minutes, and then he was like, "Oh," and he kind of laughed and was like, "Oh shit." He was like, "All right, well here, fill all this stuff out." Like I had to fill these waivers out. He gave me my what do they call it?
The number or whatever?
They gave me my number. They gave me the what's it called? Master file, not the master file, the manifest. They gave me my
Oh,
manifest.
yeah. Okay, cool.
You can tell that I'm like not super embedded in the community,
No, well,
but
that's the beauty, though. That's the beauty of it.
yeah. But it was and so like they gave me all this stuff and I was like, oh shit, like totally didn't think about that. And then I had to shove all this stuff in my I had this handlebar bag to shove a bunch of shit in, and then I tucked it in there, and then they were like, go. And we were like, oh my god. And so I hopped on my bike and I'm following my friend David. And then David, you know, he kind of pulls off into this parking lot and he was like, all right, man, we have to sort this out. Like, what are we doing? And like, how are we going? And, you know, he was like, let's figure out the map first. And he was actually very mellow about it. And so I was like, oh, okay, like, we're chill.
He,
Like,
he put you at peace. It
totally.
was, yeah. He's like, oh, let's just figure it out. Like, it's
Yeah.
like not crazy pressure. It's more like mellow. Like, okay, we gotta do these. Let's do it this way.
Yeah, exactly. And so like we pulled off and like sorted out our map and he was like, here, like hit, you know, you like want to smoke this like oil pen, and you know, like let's like let's get a little stoned before we like do this race. And I was like, hell yeah, cool. Like
Oh my
this
God.
is gonna be mellow.
Dude, like every ride I did, like I didn't smoke very often. Once in a while I did, but there was always what we call the safety meeting. Like, oh, hold up, we gotta do a safety meeting, and then the safety meeting literally meant like, let's get stoned. Like,
I love it.
I love that. It's so good.
That's awesome.
So
that's what we did.
You're feeling good, and you got a plan.
Yeah.
And like, was it like 10 points, 5 points? Like,
shit, man, it was a lot. It probably was like 10 points.
Oh wow.
and there there was one checkpoint in particular that was in West Seattle. So if you know Seattle at all, there's like the main part of Seattle, and then there's a section of Seattle like on the west side, close to the water, that is kind of like an annexed section of Seattle. So it's like a little bit more difficult to get there. Like, there's like decent amount of like public transit to get there and stuff, but they call it the island of West Seattle because it's
Oh
kind of
wow.
separate. And so there was a hill out there that was a checkpoint, and there were dudes that were hitting that and then coming back to Seattle and then doing all the rest of these crazy gnarly hills. And I was like, holy shit, man! Like how? And needless to say, like we were like, oh no, we're not. We're not going to West Seattle. No. So we went the more strategic route and like hit the hills that we thought we could hit, and then got the rush checkpoints, and like we went the points route. So we like just made mad points with a more strategic
Oh, that's cool, man. I
approach.
love the like versatility and strategy of that. Like
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah. So like that race was put on by like the race series was called Holiday Haze, and I think the crew that puts it on, they're called Seattle Rush, and it's like a from what I understand, like a bike messenger type of just like community organization that puts
That is
these
so
different types
cool.
of things on. Yeah,
That
so
is
they're really
so
nice.
cool.
And they're doing another. They did third the third series of the race today. Today was it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So hopefully it was good.
And you totally would have done it, but you had this podcast you had to do.
I totally would have done it.
Oh
Yeah.
I appreciate you being here.
Oh, dude, for sure. Are you kidding? Like, this is awesome.
There's like two alley cats that come to mind that like were memorable for me. One of them was actually pretty epic. It was like Santa Barbara to LA alley cat.
No way. That's insane.
It was so awesome. Like we literally woke up like butt crack early, took the train to Santa Barbara and rode our bikes back.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that was so rad.
Crazy,
that was so rad, And then the other one, weren't you there at the other one?
I was at one. I don't know if it's the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
but it was in Whittier, right?
Yeah, that was the All City Whittier alley cat race.
Sick. Was All City like the bike company?
Yeah, like the bike company. Yeah, they sponsored it.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So like that was really rad. I remember that one. That was so cool. It was so fun. Like,
dude, that was like the first time I had heard about alley cat races because of you, but that was the first time I really like saw one go down. And that was like the coolest shit ever, dude.
Oh, the chaos is so fun, dude.
Yeah, totally.
The chaos is so fun. Like, there's these major checkpoints and stuff, and like it was all haphazard. It was definitely based on fun. Like, it wasn't like serious roadie shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was way more like, like someone's gonna be there and they're gonna put a marker on your arm.
Yeah.
And like whatever. Like,
dude.
It was so cool, dude. Like that was really rad.
That was really cool to watch for sure.
Yeah, that was a fun one, man. Like that was so good, dude. Like that's the beauty of cycling. Like there's so many ways you can enjoy it because like people think like, well, I'm not very competitive, Well, there's an avenue for doing something quote unquote competitive that really isn't competitive. Like an alley cat is a perfect example. It's kind of like I think runners get their taste of that because like, yeah, you could be racing like the Boston Marathon and it's like super elite and hard to get even the ability to do it, right? Like you have to qualify for that, right? Like it's a big deal, right? But then there's just like these 5Ks that you could just do and be like, hey, can you finish this? Or like half marathons. Like I'm here just to see if I can finish. And that's cycling too. It has that kind of like feel where like an alley cat is definitely that vibe where like you're not so much there to compete against everyone else. You're more like, it'd be dope if I finish this. Like that'd be so rad.
Yeah. That's absolutely what that race was like.
And that's super cool, man. That's super cool. Like, and you know what? I'll even say that I think the spirit of an alley cat revolves around like a very rudimentary feeling of just the spirit of finishing a ride you're not supposed to be on. Like
Yeah.
we've all been there. We're like, I should not be trying to fucking do this ride.
Yeah.
Like I have no business, whether it be Turnbull or like when we did Seal Beach.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
like Seal Beach, and then oh, okay. So if you're from California, there's this beautiful bike path. It's called the San Gabriel River Trail. It really is perfect. You know, like I mean, obviously it's on a like a wash. It's like a fake river, right? But it's still great views. It's still very, very like smart how they built it. And you can basically go from the mountains of San Gabriel to Seal Beach, the ocean, you know? So you
Hmm.
could take it all the way. So like the design on that is amazing. I love that route, right? And
Yeah.
I remember I took you, and one of the problems with that ride is that I mean, it's ridiculously easy to go.
Yeah, it was. I do remember that. Like I remember cuz so that ride, that was my first, and that was like one of the first super long ride that I'd been on. I think there and back I remember it was like 40 miles or
Yeah, 40
something.
miles. Yeah.
And before that I had ridden maybe like I don't know, 10 miles
Yeah.
or something like that. And
But
that was go ahead.
no one tells you about the way back.
Dude, no one tell right, you completely forget. Oh yeah, we have to get back now. Like,
And the
oh
way
my
back
God.
is like nothing but headwind.
Oh
And
my God, I
oh,
remember
it's
that.
miserable, dude. It's so miserable. And I remember like not mentioning that to you. Like, oh, we'll be good. We'll be
Yeah.
good. We're
Yeah.
halfway there. All you gotta do is go back. And I dragged you through that one too. And I think
Yeah.
that's it's so fun though. Like when because you really meet your maker, like you're there, and especially in that situation, like I think it's different. If you're on a hill and you're going up a hill, you could be like, you know what, dude? I'm sorry. I quit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
when you're enjoying a tailwind and you're going like 15, 18 miles an hour, and you're like, oh, this
yeah.
is fun, man.
It's
Like
so
I'm
good.
riding, this is good. And then you turn around, you're like, holy shit, I'm going 12 miles an hour on the way back.
Yeah. What in the world?
I
Oh,
mean, you're not gonna call an Uber. You're screwed. You're gonna make
dude.
it back slowly.
Yeah, truly. And also, I feel like even at that time, I don't think that Uber was doing shit. Like that wasn't even a thought. The only thing was like, oh, we have to. There's the only way. It's like we
Yeah.
gotta ride our bikes back.
And then like we both know who your father is. Like he wouldn't even accept it if we're like, can you pick us up? Like
Yeah,
he'd
he's
be
like,
like,
no,
no.
you got there. Like get back.
Like he would have been
Damn.
like, nope.
Yeah, sorry. Man, I remember
Oh.
that. So that ride was before Turnbull, and that ride was with the fixed gear.
Oh
That
wow.
so and that worked out well because that trail wasn't like super steep or
No,
anything.
no, it's not. It's very, very flat.
Yeah, and so I was able to do it on a fixed gear pretty well, but it was just long as fuck, dude.
Dude, 40 miles is like not what you take people on. Like
Man,
I've often talked about how like when I first started mountain biking, I was taken to one of the most beautiful, fun, and way over my ability trails. But I guess I'm just the same person because everything I took you on was terrible.
yeah. Honestly, I feel like if you the way that we went about those two rides in particular, because those I would say even still are probably like, you know, peak difficulty rides that I have experienced. And like living in Seattle, riding my bike around Seattle, there are mad hills here. Like this place is super hilly, and the only way to get back to my house from anywhere is uphill. Like I have to finish my ride with a hill, like this
Oh,
nice long gradual uphill for a couple of miles, and that shit is challenging for sure. But
oh yeah.
like, and I think that kind of plays back into the whole idea, like, can I do this? Like, let me challenge myself and like try to do it. And so far I've been able to do it, but every time it's you always have the thought, where you're like, put foot
Dude,
down.
it's
Should I put my foot down?
Greg LeMond, man. He said it never gets easier. You just go faster.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah,
I
dude. It's
totally get
like
that.
that's such a great quote. And
Yeah.
and that defines cycling so perfectly. Like
Hmm.
if you go do it and you're like the slowest guy there, it was hard as fuck. And you did it. Whatever,
Yeah.
5-10 miles, whatever.
Yeah.
So if you do 10 miles again and you're trying at the same level of effort as you tried the first time you did it, you're just as dead, except you were a lot faster.
Yeah, right, totally. And even that little bit of time you saved makes it worth it because you're like got it over with a little
Got
bit
it.
faster.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay. I'm being a nerd right now, but Pantani was this bald dude. They call him the pirate, right? He was super rad. And he had this thing where when he climbed up hills, and I don't mean hills, I mean mountains, right? He would climb up mountains and he would climb in his drops, like on the lower part of the bars.
Hmm.
And they would tell him, like, why do you attack the hills like that? Why do you climb that way? He's all, I just want the pain to end as fast as possible. So like I'm in a hurry to finish because this shit sucks.
It sucks.
But it's awesome. But it
That's
sucks.
awesome. I love that. I really resonate with that, dude.
Oh,
Honestly.
Marco Pantani, man. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's something I wanted to say a little bit earlier was like about those rides, those pinnacle rides in my experience in my bicycle life. That like I think that if you had been any more explicit about like what we were getting into, I feel like I wouldn't have been like
Down.
yeah, dude, I don't think I would have had as much gusto. And I think like that stays true to a part of like my character even now, where it's like sometimes I would rather not know exactly what I'm getting into, and I, in some ways, would rather like deal with it on the fly because I feel like that type of like brain mode, like that survival mode, like
Tell me the
helps me.
good. Tell me the good and how
Yeah,
awesome it is. And then let me find out how much it sucks afterwards.
exactly, because once I'm in the middle of it, I have to like tap into a mindset where it's like, dude, well, you can't go back now. Like just fucking you gotta do the thing.
You're
Like
gonna, yeah, I'm here.
do whatever you need to tell yourself to like get there. And like I guess it's like a weird I don't know. It's just that like fatigue high you get where you're
Oh yeah.
it does make everything that comes after the hard part that much more rewarding. And like that's the journey that we were talking about earlier. Like
Right.
you could take the ride up on your in your car, but the journey's different, man. Like you didn't work for it the same way as like that walker or that runner or bicyclist did. Like it's a different experience. I think that's like a really cool part of riding a
Do
bike.
you remember our hike of death?
Dude, that was honestly the so much fun. I remember that shit. Yeah.
That was also Turnbull Canyon, but that was on the Greenleaf side up. What do they call that? Like the devil or
Dude,
devil's?
if they had a
I
name for it, I had no idea. But I
No,
think I learned after that.
like we started on a very normal part, like wherever Runyon Canyon is it or something? I don't know. But we started on Greenleaf, right? And it was like a very traditional start, and then we just like climbed up and up and up. And I think I had to work.
You did. You had to work. That's what made it so much more urgent was that you had like we were gonna do this hike before you had to go on your shift for I don't even know where you're working at the
I
time,
worked at
but
a bike shop at that time. And I was working at
oh,
a
was it
bike
a bike
shop.
shop?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I was like, cool, like let's do this quick hike, like, and it was like cool. And then like the whole way up was very traditional, like
Super cool, super
okay,
chill.
yeah. And like the way down was where it got very sketch because we're like
Yeah.
in a hurry to finish.
Right.
I remember looking like, well, it's right there.
Yes.
Like
Pointed at the parking
let's,
lot.
let's aim right there and let's
Wow.
go that direction. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, like if you hike Turnbull, it's not linear. Like
Dude, I mean, I had no idea, but like I said, I learned that day that it wasn't linear.
Oh, we were like jumping fences. We were
Yeah, dude,
we were like
because
not on the trail.
right, like we had, I remember, so I remember that. I remember you said, okay, there's a parking lot. We have to get there. Like, let's go towards that way. And this is me, like, blindly going, like, along with this plan. I'm like, yeah, shit. Okay, cool. He knows. That sounds good. Let's
I
go that
I
way.
feel like this is not really paying me the good light as an uncle.
No, well, no, okay. What I'll say, let me preface this with that was one of the funnest hikes I'd ever been on.
There
And
you
like,
go.
dude, like honestly, that definitely lined up with like all the types of shit that I was doing with my friends anyway. You know, like
All
I
right.
was getting into shenanigans and we were doing all kinds of like weird, wild, like stuff like that, like just skateboarding and like, jumping fences, getting into schools to do all that stuff. Like that was like more of like that type of
You're like,
fun.
oh, my uncle wants to go on a hike. How cute. He's getting old. And then
No,
like you end up like jumping a fence, almost falling off a cliff.
dude, that's exactly what happened. Like I remember, okay, so like you said, pointed to the parking lot. Okay, we got to get there. Went on this fun, cool, chill hike, but really the fun was yet to come. And and trying to like follow, where the parking lot was. I don't know, man. What was it? We took some weird turns or something. And then
Dude,
there was
I
like a fence with
I
a
thought I
sign.
knew. I really
Yeah.
thought I knew, man. Like it was like I felt so like betrayed by my own memory. Like I'm like, I know it's like just past this hill, down this one thing. And like we went and like it wasn't there. And
No.
then so we're like, let's jump the fence. And that was a bad move,
Yeah.
right? And then we jumped the fence. And I remember there was like these fields that had just been like tilled or something.
Yeah, these
Like
rolling hills that just
roll
been tilled. Yeah.
and it was like moon powder, like dust. And
Yeah.
it was no way to walk it. So we ran it because it was actually easier because it was so steep.
But
And
also,
we were kicking up all kinds of dust.
yeah, dude. I mean, also I think the thing too that we had in the back of our minds was that there was a sign that was like no trespassing.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
and that
there's that.
and so we were like in this like construction zone essentially, like where they're
Yeah.
doing this work or whatever, and like no one's there, and we're like, oh fuck it, like I think if we get down this hill, like we can get to the parking lot a little bit quicker, and we totally did. So we had that
You
like,
know what? I don't remember how we got there.
well, okay,
I remember the snow, like the like not snow, but like the powder dirt.
yeah, yeah,
I remember getting to a point where we got to like it's right there. It's like
yeah,
literally right there. And then we went down to like the edge and they're like, oh, and here is this cliff of
yeah,
like 40 feet. So we
dude,
can't
huge.
continue.
Could not go down. So then after that, there was like this little sliver of a path that went like around where this cliff was, and then there were like these residential houses that were on the hill, and there
That's
were the
right.
chain link fences. And so we were like on maybe like a 3 foot wide, like 2 foot wide little lip that like was still at a slant down into this fucking like whatever 40-foot canyon or whatever. Nothing you want to fall off of. And we're like inching our way, like holding onto these chain link fences. And I remember
God.
thinking, like, how the hell? Like, when does this end? Like, where are we going? And you
I
were in front
I
of me.
really hope I really hope your mom's not listening. If my sister's listening, I'm gonna
That'd
be
be
in trouble. I'm gonna
that'd be
be so in
hilarious.
trouble for
No, no, no,
all of
dude.
this shit is gonna come back to me. The
That was
next
so long
family
ago.
get together, I am so fucked.
Oh my God. Honestly, at this point, I think she just think it's hilarious. Because
I hope
because
so.
it is. It
I hope
is.
so.
But I remember like scaling the side of this like little like cliffside on this chain link fence, and we saw where there was this one house that had like a straight shot from their backyard to like their front yard into the street, and then we
Oh
could walk
no.
up the hill. And so initially we talked about it. We were like, okay, we can like jump over into these people's houses and get down to where we need to go.
Oh
And I
no.
was like, all right, sick, I'm ready. And so we're scaling a little bit more, and we're like, oh, that looks like no one owns that area over there. And it's like, and the house that we were gonna run through, there was a fence that marked their like yard line, and then on the other side of that was just like city property, and we were like, okay, we can just go and like hop down there. That's
Oh, thank
chilling.
God.
And so, so we found a way more like mellow way to get back to the parking lot. Then we got
Slightly
back to
less illegal.
slightly less illegal. But we got back, and I remember we got into
Oh my
your
God.
car.
No. I remember that we didn't get into the parking lot. We missed it by like, I don't know what, but we got into the street and then had to walk down the street, Greenleaf,
Okay, yeah, that sounds
into the
about
parking
right.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh my gosh.
I remember
So
that
then,
part.
and then I remember getting into the car, just being like, "Whoa!" Like I remember just like cracking up. Like we were like,
Let's never
"Dude,
talk about this shortcut again.
that was hilarious." I have a picture of us after that hike.
Oh my God, really?
Somewhere, it's somewhere, and it's so good.
I need that photo. I need that
I'll
photo.
find
Bad.
it. I'll find it
Yeah.
for you.
Oh my God, that's so good. Oh my gosh. That's awesome, dude. I love this. This has been awesome. We have to do this again.
I'm down.
And you know what we gotta do? We gotta go on a new adventure and then talk about that.
That sounds great.
Like we're due for an adventure. I know you're far away, but whether I go to you or you come here at some point, we need to do that, and then we gotta talk again because I love you. Well, I love you because you're my nephew. I love you. But you know, like, but it's like I try to tell my kids, like, we love you because you're our children, but there will be a point where we like you as well.
Yeah, like you're a cool person.
Yes, exactly. And that was like me with you because I met you when you were like a baby and like you love your nephew. But then as they grow up, you're like, oh my God, like obviously I love my nephew, but I really like him too. He's a real cool human being. Like he's a cool dude. And like,
that.
so like, yeah, like I want to be around you. Like you're a cool dude.
Hell
and I think that we have to do this again. I think we have to have another one, but we can only have it after we have another random adventure.
Dude, that sounds great to me. So we gotta make it happen then.
I'm down. I'm so down.
Hell yeah.
Oh my gosh. Let's just wrap this up.
Up.
All right. So well, for one, your art is fucking amazing.
Thanks.
So I do want people to know that if they want to see your art, you are on the Instagram, AR Soto, Instagram AR Soto. It's a.r.soto. And they're gonna see all your cool shit, and they're gonna see what you're about, and that's super rad. And I hope they find you. Me myself, obviously, if you're listening to this and you don't know about my Instagram is off the saddle podcast. You can find me on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter. I won't even share that one because I don't even look at it. But but I am on YouTube. And that's like, youtube.com @ off the saddle. So check that out. You can find like an Instagram version of it that links to my Spotify. If you're on YouTube, you can do that. And it can kind of get that on YouTube. I do want to give a little bit of love to Off the Mats podcast, which literally is the reason why I'm doing this. He's so cool. Like he's the reason why I do this. The name is similar on purpose because I'm basically using what he's done as a way to express and enjoy myself, and kind of like this is my therapy. So I thank you so much, Jake Dante. I appreciate you a heck of a lot, man. And I still listen to your he has a few podcasts. He has Off the Mats. He has So You Like Horror, Colompton, and Nerd Rage Radio. So he has a bunch of podcasts, and he is amazing in all of them. I recommend a listen. Thank you for everyone who follows, everyone who listens, everyone who supports this crap. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier because this is the most fun I've had. Andrew, thank you for joining me, dude.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. Just let me know.
Everyone for listening, thanks so much. I'll see you off the saddle, or I guess I'll see you off the saddle, but take care.